So Christina, I just finished my introduction. I was just giving a context for you to describe how much the Cradle to Cradle, and especially the version 4, will help to create circular buildings. So if you want to introduce yourself, introduce the C2C PRI, and if you want to share your presentation, we are at your disposal.
Thank you very much. And thank you again, Eric, for having me today and for organizing this webinar. And thanks for all the participants bearing with my English. We're working on our French, so who knows, maybe next year we'll be able to hold such a webinar in French. For now, I will speak in English. So thanks a lot for participating. I will present around 25 to 30 minutes, and I think the slides will then be made available also afterwards. I think there will be a recording, and then of course we'll be very happy to take any questions that you have. And yes, I'm the Vice President for Strategy and Development at the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute. I'm based at our European head offices, which is located in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And the talk today is about the Cradle to Cradle certified, our product standard, which is currently in the development of the version 4. And as Eric has said, this is really also a standard that can support and helps to define the future of circular building products. And with that, of course, also contributing to a circular built environment overall. Let me just briefly set the context for the conversation today. Eric has partly gone in this already, but of course the built environment has a very significant role to play for a sustainable and healthier world. And I think nowadays, with the pandemic situation, that becomes even clearer that built environment affects very much also our health and well-being, as we spend so much time in physical spaces. And on the other hand, also built environment is a sector that contributes worldwide to around 40% of carbon emissions, around 30% from the building operations, and around 10% from embodied carbon, so materials and processes throughout the whole life cycle of a building. In that, in this challenge, the sector also plays a big role in helping to move towards a more carbon positive future. And of course, in order to achieve that, we cannot continue with our linear model, but really a new way of thinking, a new economic model is required, which is the circular economy, where basically the concept of waste is eliminated, and where the products and the materials are carried in a loop and can serve as a source and as a resource for any new material and product that is being generated. So also to maximize, of course, the value of products and materials for their life after the use. In order to really operationalize and implement the circular economy on the building product level, we need to completely rethink and also redesign our building materials and really apply the principles of cradle to cradle. And this requires also a paradigm shift. And the cradle to cradle principles in the end have been, or where they started, have been designed or are design principles. So that basically all the products and materials are designed in a way that they can be cycled either in a biological cycle or a technical cycle. Biological cycle means that the products have been designed in a way that they can be brought back to the soil as biological nutritions, and the technical cycle, which of course is also very relevant for the discussion we have here, is that products are designed in a way already at the beginning for multiple use, and that they can serve as an input for new products that are generated. So these two cycling scenarios, how we call them, are really at the heart also of our framework. And we also increasingly see that the concepts of these closed loops of cradle-to-cradle principles and the circular economy are increasingly finding their way into the policy settings as well as in the bigger sustainable development discussions as well. I'm just pointing out here, for example, the Circular Economy Action Plan of the European Commission, where sustainable construction is a big priority sector where also, of course, besides other circularity principles will be explored. And I think I could also name the law that you have in France recently, which also has a big focus on the circular economy. So we see a big driver increasingly from the policy angle, in particular in Europe. But we also see a driver from the building programs. So building programs like LEED, like BREEAM, like WELL, they are increasingly recognizing the importance of circularity in product materials, and very often these product materials can then gain certain credits also in the building programs. And then last but not least, there are the Sustainable Development Goals, where many of the companies are building their strategy and their business approaches upon, and where, for example, in the Goal 12, responsible consumption and production, the circularity principles are very strongly anchored. So with this context, I would like to turn a little bit to the institute where I'm from and share what we are working on and what basically our leading vision is. And our vision is really a world where safe materials and products are designed and manufactured in a prosperous circular economy to maximize health and well-being for people and planet. And how we achieve this with the mission is that we aim at leading, inspiring, and enabling all stakeholders across the global economy to create and to use innovative products and materials that positively impact people and the planet. Some of you might be familiar with the Institute or with our Cradle to Cradle certified products program, but just to recap, our beginnings go back to 2002, when the very pioneering book, Cradle to Cradle, Remaking the Way We Make Things, has been published by Michael Braungart and Bill McNall. And based on this book, certain frameworks have been developed, and in 2010 the Institute was founded as a non-profit organization, first in California, now also with head offices in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, to basically develop a framework around the cradle-to-cradle principles that can be measured, where progress can be made visible, and where at the end also a certification and a recognition can be given on a product level. We have over the years grown the Institute. We have expanded our assessor network, so Upcyclea here is one of the accredited assessors of the Institute, being able to do the product assessments according to our program. And we have also continuously developed the program and the global standard further. And we are at a very exciting phase right now, as we are very close to launching the version 4 of the Cradle to Cradle product standard with the end of the year. And the webinar today will also give you a little bit of preview what are the focus areas and focus points of the version 4 of the standard. The Cradle to Cradle certified version 4 is really designed and has been, updated in a way that it is the leading multi-attribute, multi-industry, science-based standard for verifying products for the circular economy. And I do want to stress the word science-based. That is very important for the Institute. All the criteria that are found in the standard are very heavily rooted in science. We are multi-attribute that you will see. We have 5 categories, and we are also multi-industry. So we not only work in the built environment, we also do quite a lot of work in textile apparel, in the cosmetics industry, in the packaging industry. But of course, built environment is still one of our leading sectors at the Institute. The version 4 is compared, to the previous version. It still continues to be tremendously comprehensive. It is very rigorous. I mean, this certification at product level is considered one of the most rigorous in the world. Yet we feel it is very much achievable, as many of the existing product examples also show. It really represents the cradle-to-cradle principles in practice. And what also makes this framework, or this product certification different, from some of the eco labels or so you might be familiar with, is that it offers an optimization pathway, a pathway of continuous improvement towards innovation and development of safe and circular products. I mentioned already there's a verification mechanism for the circular economy behind it. And in the end, it's a global framework. It's worldwide applied to demonstrate leadership and also to drive systemic change across the sector. How does the standard look like? I said it's a multi-category standard. So we have 5 categories here, and I will lead you through all of them. The first one is material health, and we have product circularity, clean air and climate protection, water and soil stewardship, as well as social fairness. And as I said before, it's quite recognized as advanced, as comprehensive, and a big strength here lies with a verified assessment and a certification that can be communicated very easily business to business, so to the business partners in the built environment, but if wanted, or also to the consumer. And at the heart of our framework lies the continuous improvement. So within the 5 categories of the standard, you have criteria in each category, and the criteria are structured in the achievement levels, how we call them: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, with platinum being the most advanced and most challenging achievement level to be achieved. This is really that's the idea behind the framework, that continuous improvement over the years is done in order to improve also in the performance level of the standard. Since this is quite a comprehensive framework, many of the companies also use this in order to inform their product development strategies, their design strategies, or even sometimes their sustainability and circularity strategies. I mentioned that we are very close to releasing the version 4 of the standard, but according to, of course, ISO requirements and a very transparent multi-stakeholder process, we are having public commenting periods for our standard, and we had one that was held last autumn, and we will have another public commenting period opening actually on Monday, running until the 2nd of September. I realize that's the vacation time in France, but there may be some days where it would be possible to look at the second draft version for the public commenting period. And we will have these reference documents available on our website, and really very much welcome any comments from anybody publicly, but also of course from you here on the webinar, potentially on feedback that you might have to the criteria. So we will have a press release next week around that, and you'll find all the further details on our website. So if you have some interest and maybe some time before or after your vacation, we really welcome any comments that you would like to give from your stakeholder perspective. As said, the public commenting period will be open until the 2nd of September. Then these comments will be taken into account, will be discussed with our certification standard board, and then we hope to basically release this version 4 of the standard by the end of the year. The version 4 is at the moment already in the piloting, so we have several pilots that are running also in the built environment. So we are also taking these learnings and these findings into account to finalize the version 4. You have actually a quite exclusive preview here today, but I should say we will have public webinars next week also, in case you want to hear more about it, where we will be introducing the version 4 further, more than I can go into depth right now. So in case you would like to sign up, please do so on our website. So let's dive a little bit more into the content on the 5 areas, and I would like to start with material health. And what I will do is I will run through the categories and just tell you, what this category is about, what the intention is, and briefly show you the criteria. Again, we will not have time to dive into everything deep into this webinar, but at least I think it's a starting point for a discussion. So the intention of the material health category is that the chemicals and the materials that are used in a building product, that they are selected to consider to prioritize the protection of human health and the environment, and also selected in a way to generate a positive impact on the quality of materials available for future use and cycling. So if we want to become really fully circular, we also need to look at the topic of safe, so that what we lead in the circle, what we have in the loop, is actually made for that, and that doesn't have any harmful effects on the environment and on the human health. How do we go about this focus area? Is that the approach to it is that we have an inventory, and that we also assess product and process chemistry. The idea is to progressively optimize the product chemistry and the process chemistry, to optimize the VOC, volatile organic components, content and emission, and also optimize the chemistry in the supply chain. So depending on the higher levels of the criteria, you move from the product focus deeper into the process and into the supply chain for this particular product manufacturing. The intention for this requirement is, first of all, to be really beyond chemicals regulation in this context. So basic requirement here is to comply with chemical regulations that is out there, and also to stay ahead well of the leading international chemical regulations. The benefit of this category also lies in really understanding the product chemistry, because each of the chemical composition of each material is really defined, needs to be made, in the process transparent, and then it undergoes a toxicological property assessment. So there's a very good then understanding on the product chemistry. Of course, also to optimize this product chemistry and the process chemistry in a way that if there are any substitutions made, they are non-regrettable. So really be clear which chemicals would be preferred chemicals to be used, and then really to optimizing, as I said, the supply chain to really address toxic aspects in the supply chain throughout the manufacturing of the product. I will not go through this in detail. You can read this after the webinar, but basically this outlines the key criteria in the material health category in the bronze, silver, gold, and platinum level. And the criteria, of course, build on each other, and you will see that the most rigorous one you will find in the platinum level. And in that, these criteria overviews are very interesting, because if you read through it, you will see that this also gives you a roadmap for continuous improvement in this category. Then let's go to the next one, which is called product circularity. The idea or the intention behind the product circularity is that you design products that are really designed for the next use already, and that can be actively cycled in their intended cycling pathways, so either in the biological or in the technological cycle. And here are the requirements summarized in this product circularity area. So we have structured it into 3 areas. I think that also goes very nicely in some of the elaborations that Eric has made in the introduction. So we have an area of circular sourcing, circular design, and circular systems. And the circular sourcing basically looks at the cyclable or the renewable content in the product. The circular design is including elements in the design of the product where you have a cycling scenario in mind, where you design, for example, for disassembly. That's a big topic in the built environment, or where you also design for longevity of certain kind of materials. And circular systems is dedicated to really having mechanisms, having infrastructure in place to actively cycle the material or the product at the end of use, and to also enable, let's say, cycling of the products with a circularity data report, where certain circularity data need to be made public, and where also cycling instructions have to be given. And here is basically summarized what I just explained. So of course, circular sourcing, circular design, circular system is something that is building on each other. And while it's very much driven by the product manufacturers, in particular for the circular system, the interaction with the different actors in the value chain is very important. Where, for example, such a platform of Upcyclea comes into it as well. And here again, the summary of the criteria. You will, for example, see here that the percentage of cycled material or renewable materials is increasing. You see, for example, on the bronze, 50% of the materials are compatible with the intended cycling pathways. At silver, it's 70%. At gold is 90%. At platinum is 99% in a product. So you really have increasing demands and requirements with the higher performance levels. The next category is clean air and climate protection. And the idea here is that the product manufacturing has a positive impact on the air quality, on the renewable energy supply, and the balance of climate changing greenhouse gases. The requirements here in this focus area, on the one hand, include a quantification and a disclosure of energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. And the second part is really taking action. So not only quantifying and disclosing, but really taking action to use renewable energy to address greenhouse gas emissions and the air quality. And in the quantifying and disclosing, this is all about really understanding of the magnitude of the impacts and providing a baseline from which improvements can be made, and also to hold, of course, the certification holders accountable to increase also the credibility and provide useful data, for example, to inform customer purchasing choices or, to inform a whole building life cycle analysis. And taking action is all about making choices such as, energy purchasing and use choices, or, really contributing to increasing renewable energy supply and clean air with that, and as a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. You see here also the different requirements. So I'm just taking one requirement out there, where there's a requirement for use of renewable energy and or offsetting. And you will see that it starts, at the bronze level in the final manufacturing side, for example, 5% renewable energy and or offsetting. At the silver level, that increases to 20%. At the gold level, it increases to 50%. And you also have to address embodied emissions to 25%, and at the platinum level, it really goes up to 100% full life cycle assessment, basically on the embodied emissions, and really 100% renewable energy produced on site or procured via a long-term purchasing agreement. The water and soil stewardship addresses basically water management and biodiversity. So really looking at water and soil management that are often very much interlinked with each other. And here again, it's very similar to the climate protection clean air category that we started first with the quantifying, qualifying and disclosing the water use and the effluent sludge quality, and then really taking also action to provide clean drinking water, produce a high quality effluent sludge, and to conserve water and soil. And again, this is very similar, like in the previous explanation that I gave for the renewable energy and climate data. And just to give you some examples here, you see, for example, that transparency around water use data comes in at a silver level. That, for example, at the gold level, really the effluent, the sludge needs to be optimized at the production site, and the platinum level is really the highest level, where water quality data need to be published, where you need to demonstrate also projects that are being undertaken to have a positive impact on water and soil, and where basically the optimization is carried forward to the best possible level, even have a closed loop at the facility site. And the last category is social fairness. So this means that the companies are really committed to upholding human rights and applying fair and equitable business practices. Here, it's really the foundation. This category is the foundation for Cradle to Cradle certified. And this is a category that actually applies at the company level. So all the other categories have criteria on a company level, but they apply directly on a product level. And here, this is something that applies to the company level. And it is really an important category to be able to claim that the products are not only safe and circular, but also made in a responsible way. This is how we go about the category. It's again a continuous improvement, starting that risks, human rights risks or social topic risks identified, that policies are put into place, that there's a commitment, that there's strategy behind it, that it's being measured, that the performance is analyzed, that there are accountability mechanisms, and then that those approaches are also scaled internally in the company, but then also externally in the supply chain. And here again is a summary on the criteria. Maybe just to show the platinum one, there, for example, you have the topics of living wages. Or at the gold level, it's important that grievance mechanisms are in place and that a responsible sourcing management system is also in place. So much for the 5 categories. Of course, there's a whole world behind these criteria, but this is really an overview. And what we really see with this framework, that companies use this on the one hand to accelerate and to drive the progress towards circularity goals, towards sustainability goals, that it really helps them to also reassess the business model in some way, to move more towards a circular thinking. In many, many cases, and this is really what in the end Cradle to Cradle is about, Cradle to Cradle certified, it is an innovation framework. So if you apply these criteria, these principles across your product development or research and development pipeline, it can really unleash innovation. It's also a very good approach, of course, to engage with the supply chain and to be far ahead, of requirements that might be required from the market or from policy. To make this a little bit more tangible, I just have a few slides that show you some of our certified building products. We have on our website publicly available a Cradle to Cradle certified product directory where you can see all the certified products. And here are a few examples. We have certifications in the built environment area for building products, but then for interior products as well as for furniture. So it really covers the entire product area. And what you will see is that at this stage, most of the certifications in the built environment space on a bronze and silver level, and a few on a gold level as well. So there's none on the platinum level yet, but the majority is on bronze and silver level, and this has sometimes to do in particular with the material health category, where a lot of optimization has to be done to also achieve a higher level. So just some examples here. You see some building materials like glass, for example, or aluminum window frameworks, or aluminum or different window systems and facades that are certified at the moment. But also different building materials in terms of, concrete, or also some insulating panels. I'm also giving an example here. This is actually from France. There's a plasterboards for walls and ceilings from Signat. We have, I think, very well-known examples from Steelcase, in particular work on furniture. Also office furniture has been a very long partner in the program. You have some different, mechanical adjustment desk systems that are certified. And another example here from France, where, for example, also cleaning products for buildings, so professional cleaning products for buildings are also being certified. And then we have also very strong anchoring in the flooring space. So all of the big flooring manufacturers have Cradle to Cradle certified product lines. You see examples from Tarkett here, but also from EGE in Denmark and from Shaw, which are the largest, basically, one of the largest flooring producers in the United States. So just to give you some idea, and if you're interested, you can go to our product directory and see more examples. And yeah, with that, I just would like to conclude that, you know, we are speaking really about materials here. We are speaking about products, but these are absolutely the building blocks for achieving also circular buildings, and in the ideal case, circular districts or circular cities. And in that regard, we feel it's really important to, of course, work on building programs at the same time, really also looking at the materials and the products that make up for it, to really plan for a safe and a circular, and in particular, a sustainable future. And with that, you see here's our websites, in case you're interested in learning more. And with that, I give back to Eric to help with some of the question facilitation that might be there.
Thank you, Christina. That was really inspiring and really rich. Thank you very much, and thank you also for for presenting that for the first. I understood for the first time in the world. So thank you for that. If any of us we have questions about the process, about the standard, about whatever, about Cradle to Cradle, then Christina is the right person to answer these questions. Donc, si vous voulez poser des questions, n'hésitez pas, vous pouvez les écrire, vous pouvez lever la main pour les poser. Et si vous n'êtes pas à l'aise en anglais, c'est pas un problème, je me chargerai de les traduire si vous les formulez en français. Donc, il nous reste un petit quart d'heure, donc n'hésitez pas, profitez de la présence de Christina. Apparently, you did a wonderful job. I have a question, Christina, maybe to warm up. I noticed that in the new version, in version 4 of the criteria, there is no more this basic level, which was a
Yes.
kind of entry point, you know, to familiarize yourself with the process. Could you explain why apparently this level will be taken up?
Yes, thank you. This is a very good question. So yeah, previously we had a basic level just to enable, let's say, companies to start getting on the journey of a certification. The basic level was a level where you could not communicate. You were not able to communicate around the certification. You could not use the logo, and you were just starting with some very basic, let's say, requirements also on a company level, and some basic compliance topics. And so first of all, we did not have many products in this category at all. I think in total we have 10 products or so that have a basic level. And then of course we also benchmarked the standard according to developments in the market and requirements in the market. And we came to the conclusion that the right approach here is now to integrate some of the basic levels into the bronze level. So we will still provide guidance, and I think many of our assessors, like also Upcyclea is providing this guidance to move towards the certification. But for us, it's more credible in the overall discussion to start at the bronze level. And I also do want to make a comment that since we do want to drive this continuous improvement across the performance levels, we will have a provision that companies can only stay on the bronze level for a particular amount of time, because we don't want companies to sit there for 10 years on the bronze level, which might be fine with some other certifications, but not with ours, because it's really about the continuous improvement. So we will work closely there, and of course the assessors are there to help the companies improve, and we will also try to look at some of the systemic issues together with user groups, with certification holders, in order to address some, where it might be challenging to move the levels higher. Yeah, but the basic level basically will go away.
I think that's a very important point what you just said, because it's part of the DNA of the standard. It's really a philosophy. It's not about just a kind of having commercial stamp, and that's it. But it's really, as you say, continuous improvement to create a better world, to have as much positive impact as possible. So I think that's what we appreciate in this standard, that it's really to create a better world and not just to have just a stamp to differentiate from the competition. So that's really, it's a dynamic standard to reach a positive world. Yeah. Y a-t-il des questions? Noémie a une question. Oui, d'abord, on me demande s'il sera possible de recevoir une copie de la présentation. Bien sûr, vous aurez la copie et vous aurez aussi l'enregistrement du webinaire. Alors, donc il y a une question de Noémie qui demande si les produits C2C sont destinés uniquement aux produits neufs. Do you understand the question, Christina? Do you want me to translate
Yes.
it?
Yes, I understand the first part. So,
Okay.
and then the second, yes, okay. So to start with the first one, well, it's applicable to any kind of product, but it's true that most of the products we have certified at the moment are basically newly designed or newly manufactured products, right? But what we increasingly see is that, of course, if we look at the cycles, that previous products, might be taken back, the raw materials might be taken back, and new products being made out of it. So, of course, you can have a certain percentage of, let's say, previously new products in there that are now the old products, but it is usually for products that are newly designed or newly manufactured. And you were asking here about, yes, the refurbishment, reutilization. So of course, if you designed a product with having this long life or this, next life, let's say, in mind, of course, in the criteria of the standard, you will get also lots of recognition for that. So we're really trying to include this in there as well, the thinking that is signed for the next use stages. And you are asking about the version 5. Okay, yeah, if not in this one, then in version 5. Yeah, but we say it's applicable for any kind of product. But nowadays, since we don't have so many, or we are only building up the capacity and the scale of cradle-to-cradle certified products in the building, the buildings have quite a long life cycle. It's more on the new products that you see the certification. But of course, it's not excluded for any products to be reused.
Maybe one point to be added also is, and one maybe of the reason why it's more dedicated to new products, is that in the cradle-to-cradle, in what we call material health assessment, we analyze 100% of the components, the chemistry of the product, meaning that if you are reusing a product that you didn't know nothing about, then it will be very difficult to assess it, because you don't have all the additives, all the elements that constituted the reused product. So that could be an obstacle to certify reused products. But why not? If it is, we need information in order to do consciously what we are assessing and what it would be good for the environment and for health. Alors pour ceux qui n'ont pas compris, pardon, je disais que les produits dans le Cradle, on analyse, en fait, quand on fait l'analyse, on analyse 100% des composants du produit, donc 100% des molécules qui constituent le produit, et que si on veut éventuellement certifier des produits qui sont issus du réemploi, on n'a pas forcément la connaissance des composants, des additifs, par exemple, qui faisaient partie du produit qu'on cherche à réutiliser, ou sinon, on peut éventuellement le faire, mais on sera limité très vite par les niveaux de certification, dont certains demandent très rapidement, alors je ne sais pas au niveau de la B4, peut-être dès le niveau Silver ou dès le niveau Or, d'avoir 100% de la connaissance de la composition de toutes les molécules du produit. Y a-t-il une autre question? Christian, I have another question. You said at the beginning that it was very much science-based, and you didn't speak so much about the governance of the C2C PII. So when you say science-based, who is doing the selection? Who are the scientists who are making the selection between this standard or this one? Because you have European, American, international standards. So how are you doing the selection to constitute, the basis of the Cradle criteria?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very important question. So we have a very clear and transparent governance around it. We have a certification standard board. Well, sorry, let me just go back. So first of all, we follow ISO requirements. If you are a certification body, you should follow, the ISO 17065 requirements, and we are following those. How standards are being set. And for this standard, we have a certification standard board. In this board, we have leading scientists and also technical experts across different product categories. And they, in the end, have, of course, all the latest information also on scientific development. So those are the ones who would, in the end, make the decision in this multi-stakeholder process around criteria that are being included in the standard. So this is all very much documented and made in a very transparent way. And under this certification standard board, we of course have technical working groups across the 5 categories. So there we also have the leading experts. It's really quite global in there to inform really the developments there. And then on top, we of course have the public commenting period as well. So it's quite a transparent process. And sometimes we also, if there are very critical topics to be addressed, we of course have individual consultations with leading scientists as well.
Okay, and maybe to complete that, you are, as a Cradle Product Innovation Institute, you are what we call a certification body, the one who is delivering the stamp to say, okay, I guarantee the certificate of this body, and you are accrediting assessment bodies like, for example, Upcyclea, and there is I think a dozen of them in the world. I don't know exactly how many. Do you remember? Maybe a dozen of accredited assessment bodies that are accredited to make evaluation, assessment of the products, to produce their reports, and then to submit them to the C2C PI in order for you to give the stamp and deliver the certificate.
That is right, because we develop the standard, we maintain it, we provide the certification, we do the auditing there, but then the product assessment is done by vetted independent third-party organizations, like Upcyclea is one of those. At the moment, globally, we have 13 organizations who can do the product assessment. It's of course quite a rigorous process where the company or the organization is evaluated, where the individual assessors are also evaluated. So 13 at the moment, and of course growing as we have more demand in the industry.
We have a question of Philippe. In the Cradle, there is this notion of a restricted product list, and part of this list there is the PVC, for example. And he's wondering why the PVC, which is easy to recycle, is a part of this restricted list. He would need some information about the justification of it.
Yeah, and please also look at the second version that comes out on Monday, because we have received many of those questions and we have answered to all of these questions publicly. So there will be more elaborate explanations in there that I can give at this stage. But in the end, it is really related to the VOC emissions and to the restrictions and to the limit values that we have overall set there. But I recommend to look at this because there are of course certain requirements that need to be fulfilled. There are potentially also some certain exceptions, but in the end it has to do with the VOC emissions, which is a matter of the material health.
Peut-être un commentaire par rapport à la question de Philippe et par rapport au PVC. Le PVC, bon, c'est 60% de chlore, donc ça veut dire que quand il brûle, il va dégager des dioxydes, de l'acide chlorhydrique. Et aussi, c'est un plastique en fait qui est assez instable et qui demande en fait, qui souvent intègre des métaux lourds pour le stabiliser. Et quand on veut l'assouplir, comme dans des sols souples, il faut rajouter des phtalates. Donc ça fait beaucoup d'additifs en plus de sa composition qui est à base de chlore, qui est problématique en fait dans le fait de vouloir avoir un impact positif sur la santé. Alors certes, on dit qu'il y a du sel, ça c'est un discours, mais derrière le sel, il y a aussi le chlore. Donc, et chlore, en fait, ben voilà, ça les problèmes qu'on connaît, surtout quand ça brûle, Et on a eu malheureusement des exemples de bâtiments qui brûlaient et qui dégageaient des fumées toxiques. Mais ce qui est intéressant, c'est que par exemple, vous avez un des acteurs majeurs dans le PVC qui est Tarkett, par exemple. Tarkett, c'est un des premiers fabricants de sols PVC. Alors, ils n'ont pas pu certifier du point de vue du Cradle des sols PVC, mais ça les a encouragés à innover et à développer des sols qui sont équivalents en termes de fonctionnalité, tout le temps recyclables et qui n'ont pas non plus ces capacités en fait plus toxiques en fait qu'on trouve souvent dans le PVC. Et même par rapport à leur sol PVC habituel, et c'est pour ça qu'on dit que c'est un chemin d'innovation, ils ont réussi à remplacer en fait certains éléments problématiques par d'autres de manière à limiter l'impact négatif. Mais ce qu'on veut avec le Cradle, c'est avoir un impact positif. Donc forcément en fait c'est quelque chose qui est intéressante à discuter. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle, pour être franc, le PVC a été interdit dans certains länder en Allemagne ou en Suède, etc. Il y a des solutions qui peuvent s'améliorer et peut-être on peut trouver des manières de les recycler dans d'autres, par exemple, contextes ou d'autres scénarios qui peuvent être intéressants parce qu'il est vrai qu'il y a une masse de PVC existante qui est considérable et qu'il faudra de toute manière trouver une solution.
May I did a comment because I think okay.
Philippe,
Alain Casoli from Tarkett.
Alain, yeah.
Yes. I don't know, Christina, if you understood the answer of Eric, but I would like just to clarify
Alain,
that for PVC,
yeah.
yes, for PVC we are able to use no additives which are a concern, and the way that we can emit some toxic emission when it's burned, I think it's not a specificity of PVC. I know this is it was not my intent to have this type of comment during this type of meeting, but the answer of Eric forced me to give some other point of view.
That's yes, okay. And I think it's a very important topic, and of course, you know, this is a quite controversial topic as well. And as I said, Monday it worked out, and really happy, you know, to then also continue the dialogue there and have a conversation, and also to see the justification that we gave on the previously received comments.
Great.
What is interesting also is that, as I just mentioned, you know, there is a stock of used PVC and most of the time very polluted PVC. But if we are able, you know, to discriminate, I would say polluted PVC from PVC where the phthalates or the heavy metals have been substituted, and then maybe we can find scenarios where it's possible to use this kind of recycled PVC in exterior pipes, for example, and not in inner coatings. But that's something that must be discussed, and at the end, the choice in between is in the hands of the consumers. But the responsibility of the Cradle criteria is to give the most impact positive answers to this, to the public and to the consumers. That's the point. Peut-être une dernière question, si vous en avez. And thank you, Philippe and Alain, for your questions.
Very good questions, yes.
Very good questions. Very old questions. Bon, mais s'il n'y a pas d'autres questions, je vous suggère à ce moment-là de nous arrêter là. Thank you again very much, Christina. It was very clear. The presentation is beautiful and very inspiring. So I'm sure it will get a lot of success for your presentation for the next webinars. Thank you again for your presence and for your action. It's all very important what you're doing. So, okay, I'm sure this V4 will be a great success, and for everybody, pour tout le monde. Si vous avez des remarques comme celles qui viennent d'être formulées, ou si vous avez des questions, ou si vous voulez en savoir davantage, vous êtes invités à aussi formuler vos questions. Christina, if they want to access the V4 version 2, they must go on your website, c2ccertified.org, in order to access the document and make comments.
Exactly. On Monday, beginning Monday, it will be on there on our website. Exactly.
Ok. Donc, si vous voulez accéder on va dire à la version 2 des nouveaux critères, des futurs critères, vous pouvez vous connecter sur le site du Cradle Product Innovation Institute, c2ccertified.org, et vous pouvez donc faire vos commentaires. Merci encore à toutes et à tous, et puis bonne fin de journée. Au revoir.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.